think it's about time that we do an update video on the Aquascape I did with George Farmer a few weeks ago, and some of you have been asking for it. So let's see what has changed on the scape.
It's all about shrimps, simply shrimps.
Good day everybody and welcome to this video. So there are actually quite a few changes that have happened to this scape over the few weeks that it's been set up. And it's not actually been set up for the whole time. Now let me explain why. When I actually got back from the collaboration video I did with George Farmer a few weeks back doing the two Aquascapes, I didn't actually have anywhere to put the tank, and for the past sort of week or two it's literally been sat in the middle of the living room on a sort of a pull-out coffee table with an extension lead going to it, wires going everywhere, and it's just been in the way really. It's not really until today, literally me shooting this video, that I've put it up on here. I've cleared this side off and I found a nice home for it. Well, I think so anyway. So I've got to be honest with you guys. When I first got it back, I looked at it again and I wasn't too happy personally with the plants that are in it. I mean, they work great in other scapes, so personally I wanted to change the plants that are in it. So what was in it? We had on the bottom, we had Hydrocotyle tripartita, which is a nice sort of bigger leaved carpeting plant, which I thought was maybe a little bit out of scale with the size of tank that this is. And on the bonsai tree we had moss. Which moss? It was I keep on wanting to say the Latin name over the normal name, so it's Taiwan moss or Taxiphyllum alternans. See, Taiwan, Taxiphyllum, blah blah blah, kind of the same. But yeah, we had that moss on the bonsai tree. That was a bit of a ramble. So I've just been saying how I've changed the plants over. Hardscape wise, I've pretty much left it exactly the same, because George did actually do a kind of unofficial poll on his Instagram and on YouTube. He did ask a question as to like which one people preferred, and my scape over his you guys actually preferred, which I was shocked, because I honestly, without being like, oh my god, I look up to you kind of thing, yours is the best, I genuinely thought George's was better. It looked more natural, it looked more fresh, but you guys, you like my tank, so I've kept the Hardscape pretty much how it was. I think I've taken out about 2 of the Dragonstones, but the rest is original. Filtration wise, I've only actually got a surface skimmer on it at the moment. I possibly was trying to find sort of a nano external filter with some glass inlets and outlets, but at the moment it's doing a good enough job and it's dead silent, so it doesn't really annoy us because the sofa's there and you don't really want to be hearing a when you're sitting down in a living room. So the actual brand of surface skimmer is Ocean Free. Now there are many other companies and brands that do surface skimmers, so just go for whatever you can get your hands on really if you are interested in getting a little surface skimmer. I mean, it is great. It keeps all the surface scum off the top. It doesn't provide too much flow in the tank, but that's not too bad. I can live with that. The surface scum was the main thing really, because it does start to pick up a sort of odour, sort of earthy, oily kind of, not a pleasant smell really. So it keeps that down, and obviously water changes, you can get rid of all the scum that's been mixed back into the tank. So what plants do I have in there? Well, let's get a close-up and see. So for the sort of carpeting plant, I did actually swap out the Hydrocotyle tripartita, as I said, for Hemianthus calitrichoides. I'm really rubbish with Latin names, so I apologise, and I'm also dyslexic, so it doesn't help me in any way. Or people call it HC, Hemianthus cuba, baby dwarf tears, same, different name. I'll tell you what, here's the Latin name here. So the reason why I actually swapped over to this plant, and I did and ah about it for a little while, because I've tried growing it in the past for about 6 years ago, literally, and I didn't have any hope with it. It kind of just melted away and died. And so far this one is doing a lot better. But the reason why I chose it is because the leaves are so much smaller and it helps with the depth of scale in this tank. It really does kind of miniaturize things, I think. It also stays nice and clumped together and will spread out nicely. So I am actually really stoked of how this plant is already getting on. It's probably been replanted now for just under 2 weeks, and a couple of them kind of floated up and I had to poke them back in and things like that. But as you can see, some of the roots are actually starting to bed in. There's been a couple of leaves sort of melt away and die off, but it's doing phenomenally really, considering I didn't do any immersed growth or anything like that. It's all been totally submersed. The moss on the tree I've swapped over, as I said, from a Taiwan moss, and I've actually put on Christmas moss. That's right, it's Christmas 365 days of the year in my living room now. Woohoo! But anyway, yeah, I've changed it over to Christmas moss, or Vesicularia montanegi. Here you go, here's the Latin name again. Focus. The reason why I've actually swapped over to Christmas moss is because I believe it fills in just a little bit more compactly than Taiwan moss did. So when this bonsai tree does eventually fill in nice and proper, it's gonna look banging, mate. Awesome. I don't even know why I did that. I've literally not done that since I was at high school. And finally, the third plant which I've added is just at the back there, and that is Dwarf hairgrass, or Eleocharis acicularis. Once again, here's the Latin name. And the reason why I've actually added the dwarf hairgrass is to break up the hemianthus. So it's like a little path going up the middle between them. Now I do actually want your help with this, because there is a bit of an open section here which I kind of was going to leave as an open section. It's like a path leading up to the tree, but I'm not sure whether I should continue to replant some more dwarf hairgrass in there and keep it nice and trim. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. Should I put some more dwarf hairgrass up here and carry it on and keep it nice and low, or should I just leave it as an open bit of soil? I will actually be eventually trimming down this hairgrass to about 1 inch or so, maybe a bit less high. I just want it to root in well before I end up cutting all the leaves and it just dies back. So I'm letting it root in and then I'm going to trim it back. The way the hairgrass actually spreads is it sends off little runners under the soil and pokes up little tufts every now and then. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on it and make sure but none appear in any places that I don't want them to. Just snip them out. In terms of fertilizers, I was looking into getting sort of a nano CO2 injection system on this. However, I wasn't really willing to fork out the cost just at the moment. I want to see how it gets on fairly basic with minimal maintenance, just so you guys know what is actually achievable as well. Though I am dosing these ferts here. So CO2 fertilizer, and this is by Colombo. This is an everyday fertilizer, and it recommends dosing 1 pump per 50 litres. So I still just put 1 pump in here every day, every other day, just to kind of compensate for that. It's overdosing a little bit, but there's not been any side effects yet. And also this special fertilizer. Now this has more sort of elements in it than the CO2 fertilizer, and this is a once a week fertilizer. 1 pump per 5 litres, so I put 3 pumps in this. Or if I do a big water change to get rid of any ammonia, I would just redose this after a big water change. But there were shrimp in this tank when you set it up with George. You're right. And I actually took them out when I got home. And that's because the tank wasn't actually properly cycled. We put it in for demonstrational purposes, and now I'm just letting the tank cycle properly so all the spikes and stuff don't harm the livestock in there. In terms of what shrimp I'm actually going to be putting in here, I might keep it sort of 90% planted and about 10% livestock in it. So I'm not necessarily actually going to be putting crystal shrimp back in it yet. What I plan on doing, because it is actually getting some biofilm on the wood of the tree and a little bit of hair algae, I might put some Amano shrimp in there, and they are great algae eaters. When I say some Amano shrimp, I don't really mean some, I mean like 1, possibly 2, but definitely 1 to begin with. It's a small enough tank, or big enough tank, to house 1. And I might also put a neorite snail in there, just one as well. Because it's open top, you do run the risk of them kind of climbing out, so that's just something you've got to keep an eye on. So there you go, I hope you enjoyed this aquascape and the rundown of how it's coming along really. It's only been sort of less than 2 weeks since it's been set up and I've already noticed change of the plants starting to fill in, so I can't wait for a few months down the line, especially the bonsai tree. When that fills in, I'm going to be in love with this tank. If you did like this video, then don't forget to whack that thumbs up. If you've got any comments or questions about this aquascape, then leave them down in the comment section below. There's more than likely going to be an update video in the future on this tank as it fills in, and also the scape that George did, I've still got that one, so I'll be doing an update video on that soon. So don't forget to subscribe to find out how it all develops over time. And I shall see you in another video. Thanks for watching.
It's all about shrimps, simply shrimps. Let's keep things shrimple with simply shrimps. Do 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 do. Yeah!